Hey everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 148. Big Box Steve on the mic, and apparently we got the Gator, got the Big Smooth, and Fresh West. So obviously, we're going to recap March Madness tonight. We're going to go NFL updates, talk about the NFL draft, and then of course we got to do the salute to Val Kilmer. Talked about that last week, but this is an episode where we're going to go and rank some movies and get a little deeper there. So, but first. I mean, this is your time to shine, Derek. We both have Florida to win the tournament. Obviously, you're a bigger Florida fan than I am. But why don't you break down that championship game for us?
Well, it's kind of like how we talked about it. And it's true. Like Houston has a great defense, but they go in lulls. And Florida has a pretty good defense. And that's what happened. They made it, their defense came to play in second half, the second part, like 10 minutes left in the game, and Houston couldn't do anything at the end. And everyone's like, oh, you got to get a shot up there. And I'm like, well, there was pretty good defense on him.
With stupid offense too.
Yeah, well, that's the way they play though, and that's like they Houston is great defense, but that's like they spend all their time on defense. Their offense is just horrendous. And I think with Florida, they made timely plays. You had everyone contributing. It wasn't just the Clayton show. You had Richard in the first half, keeping him in the game. The second half, you had Martin hit a shot, hit a three. Then Clayton hit a three, and then you had Aberdeen off the bench making plays. And then the bigs, they held the bigs of Cincinnati in check, the defensively, and that's to me is the what the thing with the tournament is. If the flashy part is Walter Clayton Jr., but the bigs made it so their defense could play well because they played one-on-one with the other team's bigs. They didn't have to double team at all. And so that's for me, I thought was the reason they won. It's their defense. Their defense came and had a little bit more offense than Houston.
Yeah, I think the most important part is that Florida's defense played really well. They don't get enough respect as a defensive team, and they showed it in that second half there. Walter Clayton obviously barely scored anything in the first half. So all of
Nothing.
his points really came in the second half. You're right in the case that Richard kept him in the game. Houston kind of blew it though. I mean, they really had a chance to win that game. When you think about where they were at, and Florida's been down multiple times at this tournament by double digits.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting is they keep coming back.
Well, did I send you that? Florida is the only national champion over the last 20 years to overcome a deficit of 9+ points in the Elite Eight, the Final Four in the championship
In
game.
the championship. Yeah, that's crazy. So give us your evaluation of the final game.
Houston's offense is terrible, pretty much. Like, but I knew about 6 minutes left. There was just too much time left in the game. It's almost like they're just trying to run out. They're like, okay, we have a little bit of a cushion, and you just saw it just kind of deplete. It's like Florida took that lead, and I think it was 45-34 at somewhere around 9 minutes left in the game, and they just kind of chipped away at it. Got it within three. And then Walter Clayton, he goes to the free throw line, gets his first 2 points. But Houston's defense was phenomenal in the first half. Just kind of like not letting Clayton get the ball. Um, but second half, you know, first half was very sloppy. Second half, a lot more fouls called. Um, and Florida's defense, they had that block on the 3-point shot that really changed the the tempo of the game. They went down and scored. And they just got a lot of momentum. They just carried it. And Houston, it's just they just didn't have enough offense at the end. And the last play, you don't get a shot off, but it was great defense because they knew he was going to shoot the ball. And what I don't understand is how you don't have someone on the wing, because there's no way he could pass it back. He had to shoot it. He didn't have a choice. He couldn't get it inside, so he shot it and didn't get the shot off, and so it wasn't a very good play call at the end. The play calling in the last 5 minutes for Houston wasn't very good at all. They kind of blew the game, but Florida deserves it just because of the fact that they did what Houston did all year. They played great defense when it mattered. But it was a sloppy game.
That the play calling for me, when you look at the last 10 minutes of the game, mostly into the last 5 minutes of the game, it's like when teams go into that prevent defense, right?
Yeah.
You're not aggressive, you're not really trying to win the game, you're trying to play not to lose. And how many times can you look back through history and watch teams that played not to lose end up losing the game,
Yeah, it's like it almost reminded me of the Blazers and the Lakers, in
Right.
2000. It's like, oh, we got this 15-point lead. It's like you're just, there's too much time on the clock. And I just watched the clock, 6 minutes, 4 minutes. I'm like, you guys got to do something. They have too much talent. Even though they didn't have a very good game shooting, they're going to get theirs. They're going to find a way to put up points. You have to do something offensively, and they just didn't do it. I mean, Cryer is the only one that was in double digits in that game.
Yeah.
But he didn't shoot the ball that great from downtown. He's like 4 for 12, 4 for 11. And
But you got to remember, Uzan and Sharp didn't have particularly great games at all, but the difference is they've had good games throughout the tournament. But the defense that Florida was able to play on those two individually, because they play a lot of one-on-one, right? They're a lot of isolation ball with Uzan and Sharp.
Yeah.
And they didn't particularly do well in those one-on-one situations. They turned the ball over, or they ended up, using a lot of the shot clock and then putting Houston in a tough position to take a late shot in the shot clock and a bad shot.
Yeah,
So that's what I think Florida did really well. And those are kind of the unsung things of one. Walter Clayton played really good defense. Richard always plays really good defense, and so you had their guards, I think, really were as important as the bigs in this situation defensively. So that was pretty good. It was a good game. I think Houston came out and played really great. Looked like they were going to win the game.
Yet they were still only up by 3 at halftime.
Yeah.
And like Florida played horrible in the first half and we're only up by 3. So
Yeah,
for me,
well,
it's like, okay, well, what I've seen, this is going the way it should be, because now it's going to be Florida's time in the second half.
even though Houston had a chance in the second half, they stretched it out a little bit.
Oh, they were up by 11.
Right.
And I think what turned the game around is at halftime, they were like, okay, we're going to be physical like Houston. And then they came out and were physical like Houston. And then all of a sudden the refs are like, well, we can't have this physical game. Then they started calling tons of fouls on both teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Houston kind of got into foul trouble.
Early too.
It didn't matter. The first half there was only 2 fouls called. The second half there was 23, and people are complaining about the inconsistency.
It's pretty inconsistent.
You're going to let them play in the first half, and the second half you're just going to call everything. And
yeah.
But it's also the nature of the game. Both teams played really hard. It's almost like they played too hard, because it's just like they didn't shoot particularly well from the outside. They both shot about 25% from 3-point range. I mean, Walter Clayton had 11 points. I mean, averaging what, 30, 32? during the tournament. But
Well, yeah.
that just shows you like it. I liked it because I'm kind of tired of, especially watching NBA, especially what I'm watching right now. Is like these guys don't play defense. They just run up and down the court. They shoot threes. You know, you see games in the 140s, and they're like, "Oh, it's such a great game." It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah,
Like I like the intensity. It was an old school like 90s basketball game.
yeah.
You know, it was sloppy. I don't care. There's great plays and moments, and that's what happens a lot back in the old school days of football and basketball. It's like, everyone wants to look at the scoreboard. It's like, no, some of the best games ever in football were 21-17. You know, if you actually know the game and know what defense is, and this was great defense. It was sloppy at times, but that was just from aggression. They're both teams were like, there was a lot of pressure
You
applied by
saw
both.
that early in the game. They
Yeah.
definitely looked like they had a lot of nerves happening at the first 10 minutes.
Well, then they interviewed Kelvin Sampson, and he even said that. He's like, "Oh yeah, the nerves is getting them, getting both teams
Yeah.
right now." But like Wes was saying, it irritated me so much. So I go on the X, and everyone's like, "How horrible the game this was," and I'm like, "No, this is basketball. It doesn't have to be 140 to 130. This is actually playing defense." You saw like every possession mattered,
Yeah, it did.
and that's like they played that way.
It really did for Houston. Actually, for Florida. I mean, the margin of error was so small for Florida to come back.
Well, yeah. Once you got into that late, 6, 7 minutes of the game, it really narrowed the window.
And that Walter Clayton hit 1 3-pointer, and that
Yeah.
was the tie of the game at 60. And when that happened, I was like, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Like, it's a wrap.
When he drove things down the left side and he had the and one, that was a big for me. That was a momentum for him personally, and got his head back in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was on Hawk's block, and then he went down and got the and one, and they just hit a three. So they won 6 points within like that.
Yeah.
That turned the game around completely. And then yes, the Clayton, that was what was cool, was that was out of a timeout, so they set up a perfect double screen.
Yeah.
And that's what you had to do, is like finally get him open. And it's like he just needed like a little bit of space.
That was the problem I had with Houston at the end of the game. I don't know if you noticed this, but there wasn't a sense of urgency in their play calling and in their player that they were running. It almost looked like one of those things where you're like, oh, they're just gonna run out the clock to the last minute and chuck up a three.
Or chuck
Well,
up
that was,
something. Yeah.
Florida's defense kept pushing them. They were always outside the 3-point line, and that's like they lived out there. Houston did, and they couldn't get
Yeah.
it inside.
Well, they did that like kind of slow, go to the right. Maybe we're going to do a pick and roll. Then we're going to do a pick and a roll. And now you're already down to like 9 seconds before you're even like in the offense. And so it just looked like there was like no sense of urgency. Like they didn't really know who wanted to take that last shot, which is kind of been the problem with that Houston team, right?
Well,
Because sometimes it's Sharp, sometimes Suzon, sometimes Crier. Like you don't know who is that guy.
Crier should have been the guy, and Crier is the only one that was actually. I mean, only two other players hit 1 3-pointer. He hit 4, but he's
He almost shot 11 of them.
6 for 18. Yeah, he shot like he didn't shoot very well, but no one else was shooting. I mean, Sharp was 1 for 7, and it's like they didn't want to shoot. So Florida knew, it's like, okay, we're just neutralize Crier, and then we'll take away their bigs, and who else is going to beat us?
Right. And when you're up 3, you're guarding the 3-point line.
But they weren't up. They were only up 2.
Oh yeah, I guess you can't give up the 3.
And so that was the thing, is Houston should have been trying to
Yeah, they should have just went to the basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, you try to get to the foul line.
Yeah, you try to draw a foul.
And you
100%.
when all else fails and you can't hit a shot, you get right to the basket, and of course it's gonna be contested with Florida, but you try to draw that foul, you know.
Yeah,
Well,
why aren't you going to the basket at that point?
But also because the defense was that good. Florida was so active defensively, they couldn't get around them. I mean,
yeah, Martin, Richard, and Clayton, they locked it down. And that's the thing is everyone's like, oh, why was Sharp shooting from almost, a little, Damian Lillard range, right? Like, dude, you can't get a closer shot in?
no.
No, I mean, yeah, you got to look at that and be like, what are you doing at this point? Like, you're telling me that there's not a play that you have for this situation?
Well, the problem was they were out of timeouts. And so they couldn't talk to Samson and they didn't have they should have this should be something where you practice it every day, like the whole 2 minute
Right.
drill.
Oh, well, at the
But
end of the game, at the end of practice, this is the play you practice.
Yeah.
yeah.
There was no second option. They knew, and this is for, and I'm wondering whether the coach was pointing out like, hey, he's going to get the ball. Because when he jumped at him, it's like they knew, okay, he's going to get the ball. There should have been a second option on the wing because there's no one there. At least they would have got a shot off. They knew exactly like, oh, he's going to get the ball. Just run at him. And
Yeah.
he just freaked out.
Well, and it's late in the shot clock at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So what else is he going to do,
No.
So, I mean, either way, great comeback by Florida. Derek, I'm sure you're happy for the win, but I think before the tournament, you picking them because, you like them, but also you thought they were going to win. I thought Florida had the best chance of winning this. They looked like they wouldn't at times, but again, they pulled it out. And a lot of that had to do with their defense, their hustle, and their ability to play as a team. So, congratulations, Florida. And, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah, well, Wes had Houston.
I know. What's that,
At the
Houston?
beginning of March Madness, we
Yeah.
both looked forward to Wes had Houston. So,
Oh, I had Houston beating Florida.
Right. And we had Florida beating Houston.
well, I had
Well, yeah.
a different one, but yeah, that's out a long time
I
ago.
would have won the pool if Houston would have won the one.
And that's why you don't bet against Florida, Wes. Gosh.
But I mean,
fundamentals.
so just wrap up March Madness here for a second. And I want to circle back to something we talked about a couple times throughout the tournament. One specifically when there weren't any Cinderellas left, right? And then also like people just saying this isn't as good of a March Madness as we've seen. Like I have to differ with that opinion. That's my opinion. So I kind of want to see where you guys sit because I think this is a great tournament.
Well, yeah, you like Cinderellas to win maybe 1 or 2 games, but you want the best teams playing in the Elite Eight Final Four and National Championship game. How many times have we had it where the Cinderella team makes it far and then gets blown out by 30?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Final Four was definitely those games were elite. And at the beginning, of course, everyone's disappointed because you didn't have that. You had a couple teams. You had the Clemson and
McNeese.
okay, you had that. That was a blowout. That was even like, but you start getting the Sweet 16. There were good games. I mean, the Maryland game was excellent. The Texas Tech, all the Florida games were good. Overall, yeah, it was a decent tournament. I didn't say it's one of the best, but the Final Four games were pretty epic. I mean Duke, Houston Duke, and then just the Florida and Auburn game. Florida Auburn game was an excellent game.
Yeah,
And it was different than the national championship. It was a completely different game. It's like, okay, we have more firepower than Auburn. We're gonna go at them, and we're going to get up and down the floor, and we're going to shoot the lights out and play good. This one was just a complete defense. It's almost like Houston. They're probably one of the only teams in college basketball that really relies on their energy on defense. It's like, and they transition that into getting the other team off balance defensively, and they take advantage of that and they beat them. Florida did that in the last 8 minutes. They said, you know what, we're going to do the same thing Houston did. We're going to put all our concentration on defense, and we'll get baskets. And that block on the 3-point line, that started everything. That was an amazing block.
Yeah,
that play was like, you're just like, what? How did that just happen? You know?
Yeah, they hustled a lot more. They pushed the ball up court, you're right, a lot more against Auburn than they did against Houston. But you saw a little bit of that in the second half. Clayton got a little more aggressive in the second half, getting the ball fast up the court. But Auburn, they really ran them, especially in the second half. So, yeah, I mean, either way, thought it was a great tournament. I don't mind no Cinderella. I liked seeing the ones play because I thought they were the best teams, and so we got to see what I think were the best games, of the tournament late in the tournament.
And if I had to bet next year, it will be a little different. I bet you'll have. I mean, that happens. I remember it's not the year all the number ones in 2008. There are years where it's top heavy. It just happens. I don't think it's strictly due to NIL. It's just, it was just top heavier.
Yeah, I mean so you got transfer portal and NIL, all these things that are going to affect, of course, college basketball.
One last thing. Florida is the only school in NCAA that has won 3 basketball championships and 3 football championships.
Wow. That's a good stat. I mean, they've been, I guess since like 2000, right? They've been pretty solid in both sports. So congratulations. And like I said, sure, we know Derek's happy, but it's always good to be right. And so if you're looking for correct sports information, look at us, because we're 50% of the time we're 100% right.
And I got the women's right. I picked UConn to win it all also. So
all right, so we'll wrap March Madness. There's a great season, and let's jump into here NFL update in a minute. All right, so we're back after wrapping up March Madness, talking NFL update. We're going to do a HSC Podcast top 10 mock draft, talk about who might be going where. Around the NFL, there's a few moves. I've seen some funny memes, to be honest, around the Joe Milton to the Cowboys. Everybody loves to throw in like Trey Lance in there and how he moved around from the 49ers to the Cowboys, and like what does it even mean? Like, what good does Joe Milton do in Dallas?
Well, they have one good quarterback on the roster.
Joe Milton.
No, it's just you never know. I mean, Cooper Rush was okay, but the upside, you knew what Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is a backup. He's a career backup. Everybody likes Milton just because of the arm strength. I mean, it's actually. I was talking to a Cowboys fan here. You guys know who he is, and he was super excited about it. I was like, you know what? Why not? Like, he at least. You have something to look forward to. I mean, you really have not much to look forward to when it comes to the Cowboys' future. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a starter, but you know what? If Dak goes down, I mean, who knows? Maybe he can, actually create some buzz and go out there and just play football instead of worrying about because I guarantee you Dak worries about everything. He worries about his career. He worries about, I'm not going to be a Cowboy much longer. It's like the clock's ticking for him. It's almost like people are like, okay, we'll get rid of him next year. It's like every year. It's like, yeah, we're not going to have him next year. And with Joe Milton, it's like, all right, let's see what this kid can do. There's some buzz, like
Yeah.
on the way he could throw the football. Everything else, I have no idea. I really haven't watched much of him. I didn't really watch him much, you know.
Yeah, he's definitely got a good arm. But obviously untested in the NFL, not tested a lot in college.
No.
So what can he look like later in his NFL career? Who knows? Maybe, he does sit behind Dak for 2, 3 years and gets his chance.
For me, it's something must be going on because why would the Patriots dump him for what, a fifth? If you're supposed to be a quarterback that's supposed to be a good backup or a good spot starter, maybe even a starter at some point, why don't you hold on to him until you get more form? You don't see Detroit trading Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cowboys must have actively seeked him out, right? And said, hey, we want to put somebody behind Dak and we'll give you a fifth. And the Patriots probably were thinking, we've got, Drake May. So go ahead, take him.
Well, I heard is the variable was actively, he's like, okay, he needs to be gone by this date. So they wanted to get rid of him. That's why mine was like, why?
Yeah, it's interesting. Because Dak's going to the Steelers. Getting traded to the Steelers.
Shador is going to find his way to the Steelers. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's interesting. The Steelers, they're still in this interesting situation, right? The Steelers buzz right now is what Aaron Rodgers visited,
Yeah, a week ago.
right? Like, what are they doing?
Wow.
They're just waiting on Rodgers or hopefully Shador, or they might, or someone falls to their lap in the draft.
Is the Steelers trading up a possibility?
It could be, but think about it. Like I said, it's Tomlin will still make the playoffs. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback.
Unless it's Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, well,
Makes the playoffs and lose the first round like every year.
yeah, it's still better than not making it, right?
But you got the fan base is tired of it. Yeah. They haven't been to a Super Bowl in 14 years. Yeah. And when your defense, you do have a championship defense to a certain extent, and you have some weapons on offense. You need quarterback. I mean, Cody Pickett didn't. That was one of the worst picks, first round picks. When you're like, hey, you know what, Cody Pickett's going to be our future.
I mean, that was a
How'd that
bad
work?
draft for quarterbacks, though.
Yeah,
It was him or Malik Willis.
Right.
Malik could still be good.
And they should have just took nobody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because what Mason Rudolph started a lot of the season.
Yeah,
But that's
Right.
the thing is, that's why people need to stop getting after Tomlin. Why don't you go after the GM of the Steelers?
Well, remember what I said is I said this a week ago. It's two-way street. Tomlin might be getting sick of it. He might be getting sick of the GM. He's like, you're not giving me. You're giving. I. It's kind of like the whole Don Shula thing, where it's like, okay, this is what you gave me. I can get the most out of it. He can't get enough out of the roster that he has offensively. So he might be saying, dude, I can go anywhere else. There's so many teams right now that need a coach. There's always teams that need a coach. And I'm better than these guys. Why am I staying here? Why do I get ridiculed by the fan base when I go to the playoffs every year? I've won a Super Bowl. I've been to 2 Super Bowls. It's like I'm ridiculed for going to the playoffs. He's probably getting sick of it.
Well, and then TJ Watt on Instagram posted a picture of himself with a peace sign, like deuces, like I'm out. So
That'd
that
be
was
bad for the Steelers.
it's
Oh yeah,
he's in his last year of his contract, so he might be pulling a Myles Garrett, being like, "You need to pay
Yeah.
me."
pay me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you need TJ Watt to move up in the draft to get a quarterback.
Maybe that's the goal, right? Maybe they trade TJ Watt for Dak.
Dude. What is going on here? Are we in a parallel universe and we're going to trade TJ Watt for Dak Prescott?
Gosh.
Well, he's leaving anyway. Like you might as well get some
Are
for
they
him.
gonna pick up Elliott off of waivers too?
They literally have the same salary.
Yeah, well, TJ Watt might be a better football player than Dak Prescott.
It's use him or lose him.
I don't know. But I guess if you're that desperate, which they basically are that desperate, I don't think they want Rodgers. They don't have another option but Rodgers.
Well, at this
It's
point, it's getting kind of late in the game to
yeah,
not be like we're going to get a later quarterback right now.
yeah. I mean, they almost have to trade. I mean, honestly, TJ Watt is trade bait in a sense. Like, who doesn't want TJ Watt? Especially if I was the Cowboys, I'd be like, oh, we'll give you TJ Watt for Dak Prescott. I'd be like, it's already done.
Tennessee,
It's already done. The TJ Watt is in Dallas.
they could go to Tennessee. Hey, take TJ Watt
I'm starting Milton.
for number one.
Yeah, that's not happening. But the thing is yeah, gosh, the Cowboys would be smart because if they could do that trade, and then they still could end up with Shador.
Yeah.
Fedor, and then they have the Doomsday 3 defense.
Well, no, yeah, that's incredible. With Parsons and Watt, that'd be nuts.
Parsons and TJ Watt, dude, that's madness.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fair.
Watt's just going to end up on the Eagles somehow.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me either.
A 4th round pick.
So nothing really else to talk about transaction wise in the NFL. Case Keenum did go to the Bears, I guess. They got way overpaid for him, but now they have their experienced backup.
He'll be starting.
But yeah, so let's move from transactions free agency because draft's coming up, and this is something that we're just going to start talking about the NFL draft. But there's a lot of questions up here in the top 10. For this, let's just assume there is no trades.
Yeah.
Let's move through the top 10 and just talk about the picks so we can get our top 10 here. So Tennessee number 1. The consensus seems to be Cam Ward. I agree with that. I think Tennessee should take a shot at quarterback. I don't think Cam Ward's a bad shot to take. He's probably a 70-30 guy. 70% he's going to be a decent to good quarterback. 30, he might be a bust. So at that point, I think Tennessee, you've had so much struggles with the quarterback. My opinion would be stick with Cam Ward.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. You haven't had really a quarterback since McNair. You need a quarterback. Going to Tennessee, you don't have the pressure to, he can sit there, learn the system. He's gonna start, but it's a good place probably for him to go. I think there's still teams out there that are like, we really need a quarterback, but we're really not sold on this guy overall. We don't really know a lot about him. We know he can throw the football, but a lot of guys have been able to throw the football and they just didn't pan out. And so what you see on tape, you see some elite arm talent, and you kind of there's a big question mark. So going to Tennessee, it's not like going to the Giants where it's like, oh my God, the pressure. You got to be. I mean, the pressure's on. You go to the Giants or a major market, the Jets. It's a good place for him to go.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I like the he'll have the ability to grow and learn and not be worried about losing his job right away.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Derek?
Well, yeah, it's going to be Cam Ward. I love Cam Ward. Don't get me wrong. I just think Tennessee needs a lot more, and so they could get a quarterback in another draft. And I would rather them take Abdul Carter, but they're going to take Cam Ward.
No chance they don't take Abdul Carter.
I don't think so now. I think it's pretty evident. I mean, Shador canceled, they like mutually canceled the like meeting between the two because they're like,
Right.
yeah, we're going to take a quarterback already, and it's not you, it's Cam Ward.
So, I mean, I think a lot of people are in that consensus. So, we got to agree there. So number two, you got the Browns. This is, man, I'd like to say that there's a lot of questions around this, but I mean, you just re-signed Myles Garrett. Don't you want to get him some help on the other side?
Yeah, I would say Abdul Carter.
I mean, that's when I say help on the other side. I'm obviously talking
Yeah,
Abdul Carter.
you're talking about Travis Hunter. And I mean, as far as like, I mean, actually, it's both sides to a certain extent, even though he's not going to play every down. Like everyone's like, oh, he can play every down.
No, no.
No,
You think Browns would take Travis Hunter?
I think there's a decision. You have a camp that wants Carr and you have a camp that wants Hunter. They're sitting in that war room and they're like, you know, and they're going back and forth about it. The thing about Hunter is you need offense. You need a playmaker. Of course, you don't have a quarterback yet, but the thing about Hunter is I would sprinkle him in situations on defense. He's a ball hawk. He's gonna go after the football. I wouldn't leave him on an island per se, but he's playing in certain situations in a nickel and a dime off the ball. I think he have 4 or 5 interceptions and have 800 yards receiving. It's just he's a playmaker in offense. I just I kind of wonder about his durability overall when you're playing the NFL. He's not the biggest dude in the world.
I mean,
That
I've seen mocks where people have him going to Cleveland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Abdul Carter though is a safe pick, even though they did, you know, you know, they do have Miles Garrett
You
signed
take a
up.
lot of pressure off of Myles Garrett though when you put Abdul Carter on the
Yeah,
other side.
And you
yeah,
have the pressure is off of Abdul Carter because you go in with Myles Garrett's already the number one
Right.
yeah.
pass rusher. You're not going to get double teamed. And just think when we were talking about, oh, if TJ Watt was with Micah Parsons, think about Abdul Carter with Myles Garrett.
Right.
Yeah. I think if I was gonna say probably 55 to 60% they'll take Abdul Carter. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little more almost positive Cleveland goes with Abdul Carter. I don't because look, you Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So you're not rebuilding the Cleveland team with this pick. But what you are doing is you're helping stabilize your defense. Eventually, defense can win you games, help you win games, and you worry about a quarterback next year. Maybe you take one later in the draft if there's a good one available, but at this point, like really kind of just build your core.
Well, yeah, I mean, they got one of the top second round picks, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can get either you trade back into the first if like Dart falls, or you stay in the second and you get Milrow
Because
or
they're in that sweet spot for Dart. It depends what if his stock's really risen that much. I don't even if it has, there's a lot of teams like you got the Steelers that need a quarterback. That's a given. But they could land, I mean, they can get Abdul Carter and they can get Dart.
Yeah,
And
it's a
I've
possibility.
done enough mocks and it comes up.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. So a little bit of Hunter, more Abdul Carter. Giants at number three. With Ward and Carter gone, that this makes the Giants pick more interesting. What do you guys think? Like, what's your number one pick here for the Giants?
I got him taking Hunter. They need playmakers. They got Malik Neighbors, so that's great. So then you can have Hunter come in sparingly, play receiver, but play core. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be the number one receiver because you already got Malik Neighbors. What was the thing with the Giants a few years ago? They had no playmakers, right?
Yeah.
So just get them more playmakers on offense or defense.
Well, they've already kind of committed that they're not, quarterback's not their number one priority by getting Wilson and Jameis.
Right.
I mean, it's not like they're the greatest, but you've kind of solidified your quarterback room.
Right. Yeah, you don't sign both of them.
Right, to then go draft one. So, I mean, I don't Travis Hunter is not a horrible pick there. I think they take Will Campbell because one, you got to get some protection, but it's more of also the reason that Cleveland takes Carter because they're going to build a nucleus in their defense. Will Campbell can be that nucleus on your offensive line, and linemen go early, and people like, teams like to go after big name linemen, and Campbell's really good. So that'd be my number one pick, though. Although I do like, what you're saying about Hunter because he does give them a lot of versatility on both sides of the ball.
And it's New York. So you're going to get, you want flashy.
Yeah, Will Campbell is not flashy. What do you think, Wes? What do you think's their number one pick here at 3?
I got to go with Hunter too, even though I think Will Campbell is, that's a solid pick. I just think it's hard to pass up on Hunter just because of the playmaking ability on both sides. And yeah, the Giants need a splash. The Giants are just they just haven't done anything in so long that, you I mean, Russell Wilson is not a splash, let's put it that way. He's going to probably be your starter. So you got to give him all the help that he's going to need.
Yeah. Can you give him enough help though?
Quarterback.
Like how much help do you got to give to make Russell Wilson look good again?
Well, think about how entertaining that team would be if they start Jameis with
Right.
Hunter and Neighbors.
I think Jameis will eventually start. Russell's going to start, and then they're going to be like, "What are we doing?" I mean, all Russell Wilson does is come up with slogans for every team he goes for. Let's go Big Blue. That's the first thing he said when he became a New York Giants. I'm like, really? Like that's what you do now? Did Sierra make that up for you? I mean, let's go Big
Russell
Blue.
Wilson.
Wait a minute. Now, who's the hater of Russell Wilson now?
Dude, he is not on the all hate team. He's not on. He might be third team all hate on my team, but not first team. But it's just like they need it. Travis Hunter. I will not be shocked if he drops a little, and they do go Will Campbell. But is there any chance it's Shador? I don't think it is. So that should be another question. Like
that is a question,
but
because Shador is going to be available there.
But wouldn't you rather like get Travis Hunter and then see if Shador drops and then move up and get
Shador maybe try to trade back?
Wouldn't that be funny if Shador was on the Giants too? Shador throwing to Travis Hunter.
Yeah, you got to get back into the top 10 for that though.
Well, I don't
know. Some people have said he drops.
They think if the Saints don't pick him, he's gonna drop.
Right.
And that's not a guarantee. The Saints might trade down. Like, you know what? We like Dart. Why don't we? It's like what are we picking here? It's
so Shador falls to the Cowboys,
aren't they 12th?
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. 49ers ain't taking him. Bears ain't taking him.
Yeah, it's a big possibility that Shador falls to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
Ugh.
And then you trade Dak Prescott for TJ Watt.
For TJ Watt. Oh man. All right. Well, let's get back. So 3, you guys, Travis Hunter, which I think is very viable, right? If I'm them, my pick's Will Campbell, but I agree. They need some help up there. So 4, which makes it weird for me because I got you have to take Travis Hunter there if you're the Patriots. He's available.
Right. Well, that's why I picked Will Campbell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do the Patriots take Will Campbell, or let's say Travis Hunter's gone? So if Travis Hunter's there, for me, number 1, Travis Hunter, got to take him. But let's say he's not there. Will Campbell, Mason Graham becomes a bit of a decision for the Patriots.
Well, I think you got to take Campbell because you got to protect Drake May. They did a lot already on their defense. I mean, they got Milton Williams and Spillane and I don't know. There was more players too. I think they spent most of their free agency on defense, except they did get Diggs, right?
Yeah.
So I think, maybe because it's Vrabel, he'll take Mason Graham. But I think what it is the GM saw what happened to Drake May last year, and you gotta improve that offensive line.
So we're flipped here. You got Will Campbell, and then I got Travis Hunter going the opposite ways. Where are you at there, Wes?
I'm with Campbell too. Yeah, you got to protect Drake May. And it's at that pick, I don't think they go anywhere. They've shored up their defense. They got some weapons. And again, this is not a 1-year fix here. That's, you got to shore up. You got to build that offensive line, the nucleus inside out. And, he needs a personal protector. Will Campbell is that guy. Draft.
Yeah, you look at their line, it's weak right now. They do look like they're set up to draft Campbell. But I think I guess, I mean, if some reason the Giants take Will Campbell, which I think they might, I don't know if you might not have that option.
Well, then it would be maybe then at Membu.
Yeah. That's a bit of a stretch at that pick. Because again, if Campbell's not there, that means Hunter's there.
Yeah.
So you have to take Hunter.
You can't let him go to Jacksonville.
No.
No, seriously, that popped in my head. Could he actually fall in Jacksonville?
That's a long way.
The only thing I could think of is if you don't have a primary position, you have no position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that might be what teams are thinking. I'm like, what are we going, if we're evaluating him playing just one position, are we drafting him as a corner or as a receiver that high in the draft?
Yeah, is he a top 5 pick? It's a question. It's a valid question too. Especially because now you're in the NFL. It's so different than college, right? You're taking a 100%, 200% leap.
And he says he's still wants to play every down.
Yeah. Okay, so with those 4 gone, no matter which order they go in, now Jacksonville's on the clock. I think there's probably 2 choices, right? You either take line or you take offensive line or defensive line.
Yeah, I think they take best player available and take Mason Graham.
Mason Graham.
Because they need a lot, so.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at where they're at. I mean, what do you think? Where are you at with that, Wes?
I I think it's the one of those two Michigan players, either Graham or it's Will Johnson. Um, I would lean toward more Graham, but
Yeah, that's a little early for Will Johnson. But they don't look horrible on the defensive line.
yeah, you know, I mean,
Where they
Maybe
do
pair
look,
Graham with Walker.
yeah. But man, they do need a corner.
yeah, they mocked Will Johnson, still top 10. Like one of them is going to the Saints.
Well, I've heard a lot that the Raiders like him.
I don't think you can pass up on Mason Graham, though, personally. I think he's one of the best overall players in the draft, like top to bottom. And so if he's available at five, I gotta think that Jacksonville at least is smart enough to do that.
Well, here's the sleeper, Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They
saw.
did just get rid of what's his name? Evan Ingram,
Yeah.
right? He's gone.
Yep. Ooh, why is that mock there? Oh, they drop and get Tyler. And this one, they drop and San Francisco gets their fifth pick. They drop and to the 11th pick and get Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Jacksonville's a good place for a trade out.
Yeah.
Because they need anything. They need
Everyone.
everything.
Well, and then here's one that I was thinking of. Your Bears trading ahead of the Raiders to get Genty.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, that's a viable possibility because so here's the thing. Let's say
don't give me any ideas.
we all agree Jacksonville takes Mason Graham. That leaves the Raiders at six.
Right.
And I don't know why they wouldn't take Genty at six.
Well, being a Raider fan, I'm cautionally optimistic, but never ever does it seem like, oh, the guy that they should take, do they take?
Right.
So, okay, you got Genty there. We also have Shador. You have Tatoria McMillan, and you have Will Johnson. All players that they've been connected to. But me personally, I'm taking Genty. I mean, if you're talking best player available, you take Genty.
Man, isn't this a good time though? Like to sneak in and grab Shadur?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind Shador. The only issue I have is you got Gino for at least 2 more years. Is
Yeah.
Shador going to sit for 2 years?
2 years? You
No,
mean
I mean, I don't think even
Well,
so. Let's say you get Shadur, right? He you Gino or Shadur sits for the first 10 games at minimum, and then you evaluate where you're at as a team. If Gino has you in the playoffs, then you roll with Gino, right? But if he doesn't, now you put in Shadur and prime him for next season.
right.
But at that point, though, like when do you have a chance to get a quarterback as good as Shadur as the Raiders going forward?
Well, that's the Giants. If they don't take him, right? I mean,
Well, they're going to get a top three pick next year again anyway.
well, think about it though. When was the last time you saw a back like Genty?
Oh no, I agree that Genty is by far the best back in this draft, and yeah, you haven't seen one come out in a long time.
No,
But
but I
you
get you.
really, really need a quarterback.
Well, I mean, Gino, it's not
Well,
bad.
at some point though,
Yeah, I
like a
mean,
long term.
I feel like it's 3 year thing with Carroll. And what they're trying to do is build up the team so after 3 years, then you can hand it off to someone else. I don't think they're taking Shador. I think they could take like Milrow or Howard or someone else later, because they need impact players now. Because whoever, if they take Shador, he's not going to make an impact.
you take Milrow and you run a read option?
Yeah.
Ginty
I mean,
and Milrow. Read option.
That's
Stop.
brutal. I mean, I have Genty going to the Raiders. Like I said, I think they'd be silly not to take him, but there is an argument for Shadur to be had.
and I hate to say it because I still think it's early, but Will Johnson.
Yeah. Well, the further down we go, the more viable Will Johnson comes in these picks to me.
Yeah. But I could also see a thing where all this Genty is noise and to get the Bears to trade with them.
Right.
Because wouldn't it be if the Raiders really liked Will Johnson, they might like him a lot better at 10
Oh,
with
of course you would,
yeah.
because you can get him at 10.
Yeah.
Well, unless the Jets take him at 7. So Jets, I mean, I think the consensus I've seen and everything, I think the Jets have already sold themselves on O line at this pick.
Why not?
Um,
I have him taking Shador. Why not? It's like you really think Justin Fields is the answer?
yeah,
It's not like they went out and got a, two quarter, but they just got Justin Fields. And if Shador, I don't think they thought that Shador would be available at 7.
right. So they went and got Justin Fields.
Yeah. But that's what Dion, think about that. I have Travis Hunter at the Giants, Shador at the Jets. Boom.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, if Shadur starts dropping, I feel like a lot of times they just keep dropping.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's not a horrible place. You're in a quarterback competition for the first spot, right? It's not guaranteed yours if you go there, but you have a good chance of winning the position. But then again, you run into that problem then if you don't get line, you don't start securing the line, those guys are running for their lives.
But how often can you get a franchise quarterback, Steve?
I mean, it's true. That's why
Just
I said
use
it.
the Raiders got Geno Smith who's been to a Pro Bowl and stuff, and you're saying get Shador, but you're not saying Jets who don't have Justin Fields, who's on his third team.
Look, I'll take Fields over Geno Smith.
How'd that work? Field or Geno Smith made the playoffs, Fields didn't.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
the only thing I'll say about Fields and the Jets, there is zero expectations for him. And you do have some weapons. And here, you actually might even think about get McMillan. Because then you got him opposite and you just run and gun. I mean, Fields just all I'm going to do, we're not even going to worry about running the football. He's going to we're just going to run the ball and throw the ball. We're just going to see what he can do in one season. Can he play football? Can he throw the football and run the football consistently?
How many touchdowns did he have for Pittsburgh before he got benched?
But here's the thing. Pittsburgh,
like 4-2 or 5-2.
no. Pittsburgh was the wrong place because they are a run first. They are a run first defensive football team. The Jets are nothing. The Jets have no
The
identity.
Jets are nothing.
They are nothing. It's like, okay, here's the football. Let's go Willie Seaman Beeman. He's gonna Willie Seaman Beeman it, or he's gonna suck. You're gonna find out very quickly whether he can play or not. Shador actually might not be a bad option here because you've already moved Fields around so much anyways. Again, two quarterbacks having Shador on the roster. Are we doing trade outs?
Well, I mean, they're not a bad team to trade down either, right?
The Cowboys to 7 and get Shador.
Yeah.
So the Saints don't get him.
That's an interesting, again, we're not, predicting trade outs, but I don't think the Jets are a bad team to look at that would trade back.
I think realistically it's Mimbu here.
Yeah.
I think that's probably
well, that's who they're heavy on right now. They've been, and you look at their history of drafting recently, they're taking a lot of young offensive linemen to try to build that core.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's so they're coming out picking Shadur. That's bold.
You can't be like they drafted a lineman, a tackle last year in the
Yeah,
first 10 picks. You got to give him time to succeed.
right.
You don't need to keep just drafting another lineman. They already got one. Let him go out there and succeed or fail.
Well,
Shoot,
and yeah, they got one the year before, and
they had Becton and they let him go. Oh, look, he went and he was an awesome guard from the Super Bowl, the Eagles.
I mean, maybe. I mean, that might be the pick of the draft. Shadur to the Jets. Carolina. I mean, who cares? But what do you think they're going to take?
I got McMillan going there.
Yeah, I think the only other person that I think they could be looking at would be like Walker because
Yeah.
they need some defense. But if you don't give, your quarterback someone to throw the ball to, because they do not have great receivers. Adam Thielen was saving them last year. Bryce Young, like literally carrying him on his back. So you got to give him a weapon. So I like McMillan, but I also think Walker's a great option because you can't go wrong with Georgia defense. Apparently,
I think he's penciled in to go to the Eagles, right? Somehow.
yeah. They're like we can't draft him. He's going to the Eagles. He's going to
Really?
drop 22 spots. Let's see, Wes. What do you think here for the Panthers?
I think McMillan is the best available. They and Panthers need as many weapons for Bryce Young if he survives the season this year. Yeah, so the Panthers, to talk about the Panthers, I think we're just kind of waiting.
I mean, he looked good. Bryce Young did look better, a lot
But
better in the second half of the
they
season.
looked okay. I mean, they have some things. McMillan might actually make them win 6 games or 7 games. I mean, you know,
Yeah, I mean, not this year, but
yeah.
so the Saints. What's interesting here is because Derek has Shadur gone here, where a lot of people have Shadur gone to the Saints.
Hmm.
If he's there, do the Saints take Shadur Sanders or give him to the Cowboys?
I I honestly I think that's a good place for number one him to go because I still think he can. There's no pressure. Again, the Saints are nothing, just like the Jets, just like the Titans. Down there, at least it's not unbearable to be in New Orleans, I guess, and playing football there. You're in the NFC South. There are no, I mean, it's just not that strong of a conference, and it won't be for probably for another a year or two. You got Derek Carr there. He's not going to be there forever. I don't think they're too hot on Derek Carr down there. Um, and I mean, he could play next year. I think I think it's plausible they're going to pick him. I think it's good for him. I just don't know if the Saints really want him. You know,
Well, because you have Carr.
you got Carr. You could trade down and you can get Dart if you really want a quarterback.
Well, they have Rattler.
Yeah, you got Rattler too.
Well,
Rattler's not a whole lot different than Dart.
Jackson. Yeah.
right.
um, so I mean, Shadur Sanders, that's an interesting quandary there, but if he is gone, then you may have Memba or Walker,
Jalen Walker. I mean,
right? Where the Saints are the kind of team that would take Jalen Walker 100%.
I got him taking Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren, huh?
Well, dude, it's because of Brock Bowers, right? Now you're
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh man, we'll give Carr or whoever a weapon. for their offense because last year what they had looked like very good, and then all of a sudden they fell off because Olave got hurt, Shaheed got hurt, Carr
Right.
got hurt. I mean, they didn't have much. Taysom Hill got hurt. They didn't have the weapons.
Well, they don't have a tight end. I mean, you got Hill, he's just too old.
Well, it's
And
Jawan Johnson and Foster Moreau right now.
right, and both of them are not
They're
great.
serviceable. They're
Right.
okay.
No, yeah, they're not great tight ends. Wow, okay. I mean, I thought Shadur falls and they take him. I think the Saints is a good place, and I think they would Dion would be happy, Shadur would be happy to go there. Saints fans are less brutal than New York fans. They
Yeah.
love their team, they love their quarterbacks, no matter good or bad.
It's you don't the spotlight is not as bright.
Right.
You go to the Cowboys, you go to the Giants, the Jets, um, or even the Raiders. There's not the pressure for him there. I think Dion would like that. I just don't. You, I mean, the temptation is why do we stay at 9? We can trade down and get a quarterback if we really want one. Maybe this isn't the draft class we want a quarterback. We still got Derek Carr.
Right.
The jury's out of what they really want to do. But man, he's gonna follow you guys, and you're not gonna take him. I mean, it's bad enough the Raiders don't take him. He falls.
Or the Jets, apparently, because we got them at 9 now. We have Shadur already. we're dropping him fast.
He's going to the Niners, and they're not gonna pay Purdy.
That would be smart.
No,
That's
I mean
what
at this point, if
I'm not
Shadur
paying
doesn't
Purdy.
take him,
I think they should start this 49ers should start a trend. Okay, you know what? We're not. That's nice. We'll pay you this much if you actually get us to a Super Bowl. You don't do
But
that. Sorry, we're gonna draft a quarterback.
the Niners trade Purdy to the Cowboys for the 12th pick, so then they had 11 and 12.
well, I mean, Saints could drop back to with the Cowboys. Cowboys could come up, and then the Saints, they drop back and take maybe Golden.
Dude, if Mel Kiper's listening to us, he's gonna be like, "These guys are idiots."
Yeah, because he knows so much.
He's like changing his mock draft. What?
I do. The Tyler Warren's an interesting pick, though.
It's the Brock Bowers effect.
Yeah.
Ones are like, oh man, we can take a tight end early.
Right. Well, and he's going to be a possession tight end. He's going to catch a lot of footballs, help Olave, take some pressure off there. So that's interesting. So 10, Bears, everybody, this is where you might take a Tyler Warren if he's available. Ben Johnson wants as many weapons as he can get. And Tyler Warren would fit into a Ben Johnson offense. Even if you have a Cole Kmet, it doesn't matter. So he fits in there. I mean, ideally, Genty's still available. But we gave him up to the Raiders.
I saw a mock and I would be like, I looked at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, Steve would destroy this. Had the Bears taken Hampton.
Oh no, come on.
Oh yeah, and then I forgot this other one. I didn't even read. I turned it off. I'm like, this is stupid. Had him taken Henderson.
Dude, they're more likely to take Will Johnson.
Yeah. Well, for me, because yeah, I think you've already given him up, but I have Membu here.
Yeah. Which wouldn't be a horrible pick for the Bears. I think they just did so much building to the offensive line. It's time to, put another guy in of a skill position.
Yeah. Because I also could see Walker there too.
I wouldn't mind Walker at all. Like if Walker was still there, I think Walker goes earlier, but if he's still there, I'd be happy to have him at 10. So, And I don't think you had Walker being drafted yet, did you?
No.
Yeah. So in your mock draft, that's an ideal pick for the Bears at 10 is Walker.
Yeah.
Well, and I probably have Walker. No, I've done about 15 mock drafts.
It's his March Madness.
With your 30 brackets.
And I could, they still let me use the app and stuff. So, but I got Jalen Walker there too. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed with that. I wouldn't also if Tyler Warren falls,
Yeah.
I could see definitely Ben Johnson saying I need a guy like Tyler Warren to expand my offense because he loves to run that two tight end, a lot of guys in the routes, things like that. All right. Well, I mean, we weren't consensus, but I think we were pretty close on most of the picks there. I think probably the biggest lock for me is Cam Ward at number 1 and Genty at 6 to the Raiders.
I don't know. I got a bad feeling it's all smoke and mirrors and they're going to take someone else.
Those are my 2 locks. So, what are a couple locks for you, Derek?
I would say Ward at 1, and I'm just going to say lock is Hunter at 3.
Hunter at 3 to the Giants. Wes, you got a couple locks?
Boy, I got Cam Ward at 1. I think that's a lock. I got McMillan going to Carolina at 8.
Yeah, that's a really big possibility.
Yeah, it's just he's there and no one's got him. It's just why don't you get him?
You just don't know his ceiling is the thing with McMillan.
Yeah,
like he could be, the next big receiver.
I mean, there's a mock here that had the Giants moving up to 7 to get McMillan. You got another mock, the Raiders getting McMillan.
Mhm.
It's like if he gets past 7, it's like he's there. And you're Carolina. What else do you have going for you?
Yeah.
You need a playmaker. You need to make Bryce Young feel comfortable for once in his life. Like, oh, what do I do? I'll just throw it to this monument of a wide receiver. That's
A monument. He's a statue.
He's a statue.
I know we're speculating, but wouldn't that be a good place for the Cowboys to trade up to?
Yeah.
I think we've talked. You know what? We sound like ESPN. We sound like First Take. Now we're just talking about the Cowboys here.
I know. Huh?
I feel like.
Now we got to be like Stephen A. because we all hate the Cowboys.
Well, everybody wants to talk about a train wreck.
I feel like Otto right now.
Yeah.
You have to talk about the Cowboys today.
Again. Well, they're part of it. I mean, they're not in the top 10 technically, but we'll see what they do. We know that they're going to screw it up one way or another.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap NFL update there. Come back with weekly movie review and wrap up our Val Kilmer tribute here. All right, so we're back from NFL update to weekly movie review. I really did want to get to this last week, but we already had our committed movies, which were great. Thanks for watching those and likes. You want to hear movies, we're happy to do them. Not this week though, because unfortunately, passing of Val Kilmer, we have to pay our tributes. One of my favorite actors. I know you guys love him as well. Just great to go back and watch a few of his movies that we're going to review, but some of the other movies and then just reading through his list and going back and reminiscing through those. It's man, he did a lot of movies I really enjoyed. So our shout out here for HSC Podcast to Val Kilmer and our weekly movie review. We're going to start with the Salton Sea. And this was Derek's movie. Let's see, when was this made?
2002.
2002. Yeah, so it's getting older now. Like, I mean, I watched a lot of this movie, so I'll lead off here. There's so much good in the movie with um Val Kilmer's character in particular. The movie is all over the place. It's not everybody's cup of tea in a lot of the content in the movie. I know for some people that don't know or can't understand what that life is like that he's portraying, it turns people off. But what the way he plays his character, and he not I'm not going to ruin the actual storyline of it, but he's playing a tweaker, and he's into the drug life, and he's trying to do a deal, and he was working with the cops, and he's a CI, and so just to watch him in that life and to portray that character, he does a really really good job of living in that character. So the movie itself, the storyline is kind of wild, especially at the end. And but it does keep you interested. So it's a good movie if it's not super long, and it'll keep you interested. It'll keep you guessing. There is kind of a couple little twists in it, and not necessarily twists, but just differences in the plot, and as they explain the plot, and it comes out. The bads to the movie, I don't think there's a lot because they have a lot of good characters in the secondary, roles too. Even Danny Trejo shows up, which is always awesome to see Danny Trejo. And then the part that Vincent D'Onofrio plays as Pooh Bear, it's just amazing. And I don't even want to give away what the thing about him is, but that part of it is so cool, and how he portrays that. So it's a great movie overall. I don't like the cops. I've never been a fan of those two actors, but that would be my only downfall is that I think they could have done a little better job in their role. Wes, what do you got?
Yeah. Ditto for most of what you just said because the movie's just wild. Like just the beginning of the movie, um, setting you up for what it's like to be, you know, being a speed freak or whatever, or in that lifestyle of the meth labs, or the very beginning where it shows how wrong things can go actually, what it's like to be on it. It's a trip to watch the beginning. It really gets you into the movie. If you're not into the movie after the first 7 minutes, then it's like you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't see how you could sleep through the first set. And then the girl in the mattress, just just random. When you get to there, you're just like, what is this? And the arrows, and and then you see, okay, you understand, what happens to um his girl, and when they it's hard to watch them reenact what happened. That's kind of like the bad. I'm like, you just naturally don't want to see it.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff you just don't really want to see. Um, but overall, it's a great movie. I kind of wish that I think it could have been. I mean, it was made. What was released in 2002? I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2002.
yeah. I mean, the writing, it's kind of all over the place, but Pooh Bear is just wild, and how he messed up his nose, and you know, but the ending is really disgusting and violent. But again, that's the lifestyle you know that these people. You could just see the subculture. They did a great job at reenacting or just portraying the subculture of what it's like, and it's ugly, and it's like you don't want to see it, but it kind of sucks you in. Um, And Val Kilmer's performance was brilliant. I love his narration at the beginning.
Oh,
I mean, it's just, the beginning, his narration is classic. Some of
yeah.
the things he says, it's like, who cares? Like the
Well, with
Japanese,
the with that narration, and kind of some of the other scenes that aren't normal in movies, like when he goes to buy the gun,
yeah,
just the way that the guy's talking and talking to the camera, but not talking to the camera, but
yeah.
talking to you,
Did
like
you
that. Those are really cool scenes.
did you bring the Plastic Man?
Oh, dude. No, when that one, I don't remember the exact line, but he's like, excuse me or pardon me, but I am the ocean.
I am the no. That's what they call. That was his nickname. He was the Ocean. It's like this is the
That
guy. He's the
that
Ocean.
was pretty wild. But yeah, there's a lot of that in the movie, though. I think you're right about the narration, though, and those types of scenes that make the movie really unique. And it's great in that sense as well. So
Oh,
yeah, so Derek, give us your overview.
I picked this movie because I wanted something that wasn't a mainstream, that it gives it a little bit more in depth of like Val Kilmer, the actor. And I think this movie was what I love about this movie is you think of it as something at the beginning, and then at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, this wasn't what it was at the beginning. It was a totally different movie at the end.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved. And yeah, all the supporting, like D'Onofrio, Peter Sarsgaard, um, Deborah Kara Unger, Beatty White.
What's the guy's name? Adam, is it Adam Goldberg?
Yes,
Dude,
Adam
he
Goldberg.
plays, I mean, you would think that he was on drugs.
yeah.
Well, and Glenn Plummer was the ocean, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Luis Guzman's in it. I mean, and this is it's like, you don't see these types of movies anymore. This is like 2002 peak indie movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it is it's not, the most high budget but it's like it gives the actors, you go and make this movie.
Yeah.
And
There-
that's how
It's
I
a
felt. And yeah, I guess the writer of it, I guess he just wrote a little thing like to make something crazy to get like in the door to start writing. And they're like, "Oh, we love this. Why don't you make this into a movie?" And he's like, "I was just trying to make some crazy story."
Yeah.
And
It is crazy though. I mean, and it is a good plot though, and you're right. When you get to the end, it's so much different than you thought in a lot of different aspects. So it's a really, really good movie. It's well done. But yeah, it's also not, again, not every for everybody, and you just got to really appreciate what it is.
well,
I
and then
definitely think it's worth the watch.
if you love acting, the
Yeah,
acting is phenomenal.
yeah, yeah. So definitely one we recommend. That's the Salton Sea. Check it out. So next one, still again, we're here with Val Kilmer, and so Wes, your movie's Spartan, and I'll tell you, I don't remember watching this before, and so it was actually really great to watch this. I probably have seen it, but it was felt like a whole new movie to me. So Derek, why don't you lead us off? What's your good, what's your maybe bad?
Well, I like it. It's David Mamet directed it and wrote it. So you're getting the guy who wrote Glengarry Glen Ross. And it's a spy action movie, but it's more like it's a play, if that makes any sense to you. It's not like a lot, like, you know what I mean? It's almost like a bunch of sets.
Yeah,
Um, the acting, I mean, they got some heavy hitters, William H. Macy, um, Ed O'Neill's in it, Clark Gregg, Derek Luke, Kristen Bell. It's one of her first roles
Yeah,
for a
that's a
long.
young Kristen Bell.
Yeah. But I like it. It's the reason this movie got made was because of Val Kilmer. He helped get this made, and he does a good job. It's it's a little slower than I like, but I mean it's still a good movie. It's a good premise of a movie, and it dealt with in 2004 like kind of the stuff that's going on. It felt more like a 90s movie to me though. Like, you know what I mean? It was like meant for the 90s, not like in the 2000s. Um, but yeah, it was something I saw a long time ago, and it was a good, nice refresher to see it again.
Yeah, it was slower than a movie, so I get your reference to the play, right? Because it did, and I think that's a little bit of Mamet's writing, though,
Yeah.
where I think Val Kilmer portrayed the part that he was supposed to very well, right? But it made him come off dry and slow at times. The there's a lot of great things about the movie, though, but the funny thing to me though is like how Derek Luke, like this guy just gets it the whole movie, and he's not in the movie very long, dude. But he gets shot twice. Who gets shot twice in a movie?
Poor guy.
And then like the second time, you're like, oh, maybe he'll live, but no, like right in the head, like he's done.
Spoiler, Steve. Jeez.
um, the movie itself, though, I like the plot. I did enjoy the storyline because you're putting twists in there. You have obviously Val Kilmer, playing the Delta Force guy to come in and save the girl, and you're like, oh, he's going to save the girl. Then they give you the plot twists of all that. So that to me makes the movie watchable because you want to find out what's going to happen, right? So you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, how's this going to end? How's this play out? But man, you just don't want to be around Val Kilmer in that movie, man. Like, it's like everybody around him dies. But it's either way, I thought it was a great movie. I love the way it finishes as well. So it's very much worth watching to the end. The only thing I'd say is the it's not the acting, it's the writing that slows the movie down to a point where you have a hard time saying, okay, let's go. So Wes, your movie, give us your overview.
Well, I didn't know, but I was looking through old DVDs. I had this on DVD, but I hadn't watched it in years. I forgot what it really was about. I knew it was about him and Delta operations and having to save a girl. I didn't really remember the premise. And then I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, I remember. Um, it, I saw something, William H. Macy actually talked about the movie, and he said the movie is more, it's not this telling a story, it's using a story to elicit emotions. And that's kind of what this did. It's not the lightest, it's not the easiest movie to watch just because of the content, of the slavery rings and the sets itself and what it takes to actually go find someone that's gone missing, especially when you have a high profile person that is the president's daughter. It just the realistic um, protocol that goes along what actually happens when they are trying to extract somebody from a different country and the logistics. And I like that type of stuff. It's a little slow, but I like how it builds and the it's again it's a mystery, and it's a lot more thought. You have to pay attention or you'll miss a lot of stuff. And so I thought Val Kilmer pulled off the role like it's not it's over the top. He is dry, but that's just think about someone who is in elite an elite reconnaissance team. That's, I mean, it came off realistic to me. The only thing I'll say is it is still Val Kilmer. Like I'm thinking, I just watched The Doors a couple days ago, and it's like, come on, dude, it's like you're just thinking of he's playing Jim Morrison and he's just gonna say something, or he's like, he's gonna say something that's just off the wall or just very you know, just trying to be funny, but it's a serious movie. It's just I totally forgot about the content, but I always remember that I just like how like Derek was saying about the different. It's like a play. It's like the different locations. I thought it just the reality of what it is most likely in that type of scenario in real life. I think they pull it off realistically for the most part.
I think that's one of my favorite parts of that movie is what you're talking about when you say it felt realistic in, the procedures and the things that he had to go through and the way they showed that of how they would go about, recovering a missing person and the way the Secret Service operated and the way the Delta Force, tied in with them to then try to go and get this job done. I really like that part of it too, even though I think that that is lost on a lot of people that are going to watch this movie, which makes it a better movie than they might think it is. So overall, really good movie. Any last thoughts on the Spartan?
It's not that long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 100 hour and 36 minutes, I guess.
Yeah, knock that one out in an hour and a half. All right. Well, we'll get to the last movie here, which is my movie.
Oh, 46.
And I know I took kind of the easy way out here, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And obviously Val Kilmer's in it. There's a lot of other people in it, but that's Tombstone. So let's give our Tombstone review here. So Derek, why don't you lead us off?
The thing when watching Tombstone is I always come back to the fact that how he was not nominated for an Academy Award. That is where it gets me so mad. Like thinking about the Academy Awards. It's like, okay, so it was Tommy Lee Jones won for Fugitive. No way was Tommy Lee Jones any better than Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. It's like Doc Holliday is one of the greatest acting jobs ever. I mean, he did such a great job in that role. And that's what, yeah, it kind of ticks me off when I watch the movie because I'm like, how was he never nominated for an Academy Award? Thinking of that or of The Doors, like you said, of Jim Morrison or, Heat. But I love like Tombstone because his character, Doc Holliday, he plays the character so well. There's so many good supporting actors in this, and then I mean, Kurt Russell's the lead. Uh, it's like, and it's a great history. It's like a based on a true story. A lot of it happened. Some of even the sayings that he says happened in real life. So of course, I've seen this probably, I don't know how many times, but yeah, I rewatched it because he does such a great job.
I mean, you're right. Like the part that he plays in here is probably one of the best parts that I've seen any actor play and portray their character in any movie. So yeah, that's great. Let's see. So Wes, give us your good to Tombstone.
I all I can do is really add to what Derek says because I just can't really talk about anything else but Val Kilmer in the movie. And when I mean he has one of the most iconic lines of all time. And when he's like, of course the Cowboys come in, they try to take over the town. Kurt Russell, who he plays Wyatt Earp, doesn't want to get involved, wants to just be there and be. run a casino, make money. You know, he's been a lawman his whole life, and he doesn't want to fight with these guys. Val Kilmer, what does he say? I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yeah, I'm your
And and
Huckleberry.
and and then the whole back and forth with Johnny Ringo is classic.
Yeah.
You know, when he's like doing all the gun stuff, he's like Val Kilmer is like this, and I mean, it's a tragedy that he didn't get nominated or just nominated. Like, how does he not get nominated for that role? It's probably definitely one of the most classic roles. I don't know how many people I've run into, even a lot of women that love that movie, that they just love the character. It's actually one of the only movies me and my dad actually went and saw. I could never get him to go to the movies, but it was a Western and it had Kurt Russell in it. And it's like his favorite movie. He's watched it probably 40 times just because of Val Kilmer. And of course, he loves it because Sam Elliott's in it. I mean, Sam Elliott just plays the guy in the Western, the good old boy. Bill Paxton's in it. I mean, it's a great cast, but Johnny Ringo really does play a great villain, and you're scared. You're like, there's no way anybody could beat this dude, right? And the ending is probably one of the best endings I've seen in a Western, besides Unforgiven. But that's like, that's here. Um, so
Yeah, just the cast of the four of them, when you talk about, Kilmer and Russell and Sam Elliott and Bill Paxton as the four guys, like that's such a good cast, to put the four of them together, and they all play off each other really well. I think Bill Paxton does such a great job of portraying what, Morgan Wyatt would be,
like,
in that situation, right?
he's an educated man. Now I really hate him.
Yeah. So the Val Kilmer lines, and so I'll give you my overview. What I love about the movie the most are these different Val Kilmer, lines that he does and the way he delivers them. Kurt Russell talked about this in the movie, in like, interviews after the movie. He's like, I've never seen anybody train so hard for a role. When he just working on that southern aristocratic accent, but also had to play the gunfighter, the gambler, and tuberculosis on top of it, right? So he had to do so much in that role to make it believable. At one point, like, they were making him wear cotton clothes and turning the sets up to 100 degrees, so he was like sweating, you know, and he just, rolled with it. But yeah, when you talk about scenes like, Johnny Ringo's out there, does anybody want to play for blood? And of course, Doc Holliday does, and he's like, I'm your Huckleberry. But when you talk also about how it ends and when the duel and the back and forth between the whole movie is such a good build up to the end, and it's so great, and you really see how great Val, or not just Val Kilmer, but Doc Holliday in that role is, because even Johnny Ringo at the end is like, "Oh, I was just fooling around,"
Yeah,
and Val Kilmer's like, "I wasn't," and so now it just gets real for Ringo, and it's so that part's great. The storyline very good. I think Kurt Russell does a great job. I really like, the way like Michael Rooker plays one of the cowboys. He plays into that part, or not cowboys, but he changes from the cowboys and goes and helps them. So he plays a good part. Um, I don't remember the guy's name, but the dude was in Wings. Remember that guy? What's his name?
Oh, it's Thomas Hayden Church.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah. So they have the OK Corral shootout, which is, you talking about the historical stuff. That was historical, based on real events. Even use some of the real lines in there where, Val Kilmer runs out of bullets or whatever, and the guy's gonna shoot him. He's like, I got you now. And he's like, you know, If you do, you're a daisy.
They win. They win.
And so yeah, that's it's just great. A lot of great lines.
Well, and then an unsung person we haven't talked about, but Stephen Lang is Ike Clanton.
Right.
Does such a good job as like you hate him so much because he's just like the cowardly heel type guy.
Right.
Like he's tough, but then he's like a coward.
Tough when he has a gun and when he's got his friends around, but every time he's by himself, and he plays that part perfectly too, which you got to give a good shout out to Kurt Russell though, because man, did he sell the whole Wyatt Earp like I'm just the man and I'm not scared of anybody. Grab you by your ear and drag you out of the casino.
Yeah. Come here, youngster. And then
Yeah.
that was Billy Bob Thornton. I always forget. That was because he
Oh,
remembers
yeah.
he was
One
the
part,
guy
yeah.
that was like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
I own the place, and he's like, well, you got a new owner now. It's like, yeah, it's so many great. I mean, I love the
Billy
act.
Bob ad-libbed everything. His was all ad-lib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did a great job just that in that little short scene. And what's really funny though is with all of that, you're like Kurt Russell, you think that he's Wyatt Earp and he's the man, but really Doc Holliday is the man in this movie, right? As far as like he's the guy everybody's scared of, he's the poker player, he's the outlaw, he's the real
Yeah.
outlaw.
It's like, and he's like not the law guy. He's like the outlaw.
Right.
And I love it when he's like, give Doc the shotgun.
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
Yeah, so the only part, and I'll tell you this, the only thing I don't like is I wish they wouldn't have done the scene with Kurt Russell and going out into the river, no, and just shooting and not
But
getting
that was
shot.
actually historically accurate.
I know. I don't. I mean, well, so they say. I mean, it's a little unrealistic to the human eye, right? Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. Um, I would just like to have seen more of a shootout in that scene there. That's the only disappointing scene to me personally in the movie.
Yeah, the only thing is like, they had a bunch of montages in it. Like, oh, here we're going to get another cowboy, and then just a little like scenes.
Yeah, where they went after the
They're
cowboy.
chasing them down,
When they all got when they were all marshals. Was it U.S. Marshals? And he's like, see this, and then it became the montage thing. I didn't really like that too much,
Right.
but I don't really
Because they're just wrapping it up at that point. It's kind of everything had been done. Now they just got to get to the final scene.
They just play like play some Bon Jovi,
Get the Young Guns.
It's totally that's what it was.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then, you can't forget, Charlton Heston's in it.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's right.
Yeah, he plays the rancher at the end.
It's so random. You're like, dude, it's Charlton Heston.
There's so many people.
He played a real person who was actually friends with Wyatt. Like the character was Henry Hooker was friends with Wyatt Earp.
Right. And he was like a well-known huge rancher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Clantons were real, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Johnny Ringo.
Right. There's a lot of things that they tried to keep fairly accurate, which was great. And so overall, it is one of the best movies that you'll ever see. It's worth a watch and a rewatch. And, I mean, I definitely think that Val Kilmer, though, is his best role. So, with that said, I had to bring that into our weekly review. So we had Spartan, we had the Salton Sea, and we had Tombstone. So if you haven't seen those three movies, they're all three worth the watch. Show your love to Val Kilmer. A lot of other good movies out there too. So when you're talking about movies, Val Kilmer movies, you got to shout out, things like Top Gun and Heat. Even though he's not the main person in those movies necessarily, he plays a great supporting role.
Less is more, and like in Heat, especially in Heat, is he's just there. I mean, he's on screen with Pacino and De Niro, and they've only been on together in another movie. And he knows that he's with legends, and he does such a great job. he he just seemed like in some movies he just knew when to take a little bit off when other actors would overact or over dramatize something. And he was perfect. He was just the guy that was in the background with the gun scene. It's all about the gun scene.
Yeah, that was
The
good.
spot scene.
But he also, he encompassed that role really well, though. That's the thing is like he takes on the part so good.
Well, and then one that I wanted to do, but I wanted to do Salton Sea more, but was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
So good in that too.
What about Willow?
Now,
Willow, dude.
Willow's a classic.
I know it's
Willow.
so good though. And The Saint, I just watched The Saint too. Like that's one of my
Yeah.
favorites. So a lot of good ones out there. Check them out. Um,
Real genius.
yeah. What's the other one? Top Secret.
Top secret, yes.
So all great movies. So those are a little tribute to Val Kilmer. We'll put it in the shorts so you can check those out. Don't forget to comment any movies you want to see. I mean, I know people are watching some of our shorts, some of the podcasts. Put in the comments movies you'd like us to review. We're happy to review those movies. But that's a wrap. Any final thoughts on the Val Kilmer movies weekly review?
I mean, it's some kind of hard to watch just knowing that he's gone now about how talented of an actor he was. And I don't think he really got his due.
Not at
And
all.
it's a sad thing.
No.
I do think though he did in the respect he got from other actors and actresses. He may have not got the awards that some other people got, but if you heard, if you watched a lot of the interviews and things after his passing, when they said, "Hey, Val Kilmer passed," everything was just glowing um, reports and just talking about how much he really appreciated his craft and how he really thought it was a craft, like it wasn't a job to him, like acting was a craft.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot coming from other fellow actors because there are some actors that make a lot of money just acting, just doing it as a job. So, all right, we'll wrap it there. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and we'll catch you next week.